Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for a very special and exciting Silversea Cruises webinar. My name is Anna. I'm an Industry Relations Manager here at CLIA, and I'm going to just quickly go through some housekeeping before introducing our presenters. This webinar will run about 45 minutes with time for questions at the end. Please feel free to type your questions into the questions module of the webinar, and we'll get to them at the conclusion of the presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted on CLIA's YouTube channel, which is CLIA Global. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce our three presenters, Joe Leon, Rachel Woodward, and Carl Canstatter. Our first presenter is Joe, who currently serves as the Vice President of Field Sales for Silversea Cruises. He leads Silversea's sales teams, working with the area sales directors, inside sales, and business development teams to ensure all travel partner needs and requests are met. He brings with him over 24 years of travel experience, working both on the travel agency side as well as the supplier side. Our guest speaker is Rachel Woodward, Senior Director of Expedition Sales North America for Silversea Cruises, and has over 15 years of luxury travel experience. Rachel has a passion for being adventurous and loves seeing unique corners of the world that are often considered off the beaten path. Some of her recent trips on Silversea Expeditions have taken her to the Galapagos, Svalbard, and Antarctica. And finally, Carl is the Director of Expedition Sales for the Eastern US and Canada, for Silversea. With over 30 years of experience in the travel industry on both land and at sea, Carl has witnessed the evolution of adventure and expedition travel. He has been responsible for developing itineraries and introducing them into the marketplace, and he's led trips all over the world. His extensive travel industry career has taken him to over 70 countries, and his expeditions have taken him to the North Pole, Antarctica, the Galapagos, Papua New Guinea, Uzbekistan, and the Faroe Islands, just to name a few. And with that, take it away, Silversea team.
Great, Anna, thank you so much. And thank you to all of our CLIA advisors for joining us today and giving us your time. I hope your days are becoming busier and busier with everyone that passes. I know that ours are, and it's certainly an encouraging time for us as we look forward to the future and to recovery for our great industry, because we will recover and we will get back to business soon. Speaking of the current environment, this is one of the few times where we really are all in this together, and everyone on this planet has experienced this pandemic in one way, shape, or form, interrupted their lives in some way. And I'm really proud of the industry, proud of our leaders for coming together and doing the right things, doing the right thing for your customers and for you, our advisors, who are so very important to our industry and to our brands respectively. So one of the most important tasks that we set out on in this summer was to create, in partnership with Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings, a healthy return to sail panel. This panel consists of 8 individuals that are respective professionals and leaders in their respective fields, whether it be medical field, engineering, marine architects, and folks that are executives in our own marine operations teams. And Rachel, if you could go on to the next slide. Yep. The panel is led by Governor Michael Levitt and co-chaired by Scott Gottlieb. And these guys oversaw this panel that was really committed to making recommendations that were smart, safe, but also preserve the experiences that your customers expect on cruise. Their first order of business was to assess our current protocols, take a look at our current environment and assess those, and then give additional recommendations on how we can continue to improve that environment and make it ultimately the safest vacation option for all of your customers. And you think of what CLIA has done, along with the partnership of its members, all of us have committed to universal testing for everyone that you'll come in contact with over the course of that vacation, whether it be a crew member, a contractor that we have ashore, or any other passenger on board the ship. And quite frankly, there isn't an industry in the world that can make that kind of promise and guarantee to their customers that every single person they will come in contact with has gone through the same careful screening and careful detail that they've taken themselves to adhere to the policies to ensure safe travel. So we're in a very unique situation as a cruise industry, as a vacation option, and I think that that's an important piece of your conversation with your customers. Some of them may still have some doubt as to cruising again, and you can easily dispel that by reminding them of the commitments that we've made and how we've traditionally operated this industry. We've always kept it away from the customer. What happens in the back of the house? How is it that they show up to a ship and it looks brand new, as if it were just built just for them to enjoy for that week, when there were thousands of other passengers on board the week before? we do a really great job of providing these unbelievable environments already. The protocols that were put forth by this panel, it's a 74-point document. It focuses on 4 key areas: embarkation and screening, and what types of protocols are we going to follow there. It leads to onboard life and how people are interacting with each other. Where are we going to require them to wear masks? And then, of course, public health and safety on board, equipment, personnel, suites dedicated for quarantines, and how are we going to handle shore excursions, or the last piece. How are we going to take you ashore and ensure that we have somewhat of created a bubble that your customers can feel confident that they'll have the experiences ashore they expect, but still maintaining within this very closed and safe environment that we've all worked so hard to create. So we're really excited. We're confident that we're going to hear soon from the CDC. We still do not have the clearance to sail in the US, but we feel strongly that the dialogue is very positive, encouraging, it's leading in the right direction, and we are waiting patiently for them to assess the report and come back with any additional recommendations, which of course we're committed to whatever it takes to be able to sail again. Customers are going to have a bigger responsibility in this purchase than they ever have before. It's part of it is what they do before they board the ship, how they interact in their own communities before they come on board, to ensure that we do have a safe environment. So it's important that we remind customers of that as well. They have a big part of this as well. Now, who we are as a brand, and that's pretty much where we are as we're heading towards the future. We hope that we can resume sailing sometime before this year ends. But as we move on and into next year, it's important that we represent and that you represent Silversea and sell it to your customers in the way we want to be seen and the way we want to be identified. Because we offer this unbelievable luxury platform. We really are second to none when it comes to ship hardware, food, service, and the appointments of our suites. But there has to be more substance to that. It's about that luxury platform, but destination is our key focus. Our brand is built on a destination focus. Yes, we're a cruise line, and that's our business, is to take folks to places, but how we visit these places and the level of detail we put into our itinerary planning, for example, where we dock. Do we pull you into town and dock at the Tower Bridge in London, for example, instead of Southampton? The answer is yes, we do. And we can make the turn up most of the rivers in Europe because our ships are narrow enough to do that. The experience that you have at your destination is extremely important. Which brings us to the expedition side of our business, which we really think that we could take that to a whole new level. We know we can, and we have been for many years now. We've been operating as an expedition cruise line for 11 years. It was launched in 2008. The idea was to start in remote destinations. We started in the Arctic, and down into the Antarctic was our second destination, and that's now grown to a portfolio of over 590 unique ports of call. Now, that deployment alone, just on our expedition calendar, is more than any cruise line in the industry. And again, this is just only the expedition ports of call. It doesn't count the over 500 classic ports that we already call on. So definitely putting us as the leaders in destination, not just in the sheer numbers, but how we're able to pull it off with these small 4 expedition ships and the access it gives us to these remote locations around the globe. You add the luxury platform that we've been famous for delivering for the last 27 years, this personalized service and this long history of delivering the best experiences at sea. We put that on an expedition platform to these destinations, and it brings a whole new level of experience to the customer, and they see destinations in ways that they maybe didn't think they had options to. Expedition team definitely makes our expedition product and the experiences that they have ashore. These folks are guides and experts. Many of them are running their own experiments and writing their own theses and briefs while they're working on board. So they take this as an opportunity to go out and do their own research on their own, which is it's quite unique because the conversations between our customers and the leaders can get pretty interesting at times. Excursions and activities are all included. We are the infrastructure when you visit these folks and these places on expedition. So we take great care in making sure that the expeditions that we lead you on are not only informative and experiential, but comfortable and safe. And fine dining, of course, that comes with that luxury platform. Like I said, second to none when it comes to our cuisine on board the ships. And enrichment. We found that the customer today is really looking for enrichment opportunities. The idea of spending money on luxury goods, I think is of the past, and the luxury customer now spends outside of their means, particularly the luxury traveler, I should say, spends outside of their normal needs and means so that they can have a higher experience. And this is what the deployment looks like. When we talk about what destination is and why we're the leaders, this is only the expedition. This is just the expedition deployment. And you could see here, if land meets sea, we visit it at some point throughout the calendar. And my boss, Mark Conroy, always makes it a point to guarantee you this. Those customers that tell you they've been everywhere, I want you to show them this map. There are going to be several places on this map they will point out that they have not visited. And so remind them, wherever they haven't been, we are probably the only ones that can take them there. Now, how do we take you there? We take you there on the largest luxury fleet at sea. We have the top line here, which represents our classic fleet, ranging in size from 608 passengers down to just 388. And then the expedition product and the dedicated ships that we have there, ranging in size from 100 guests in the Galapagos, which Carl will do a great job of taking you through, the brand new Silver Origin, which we're all very proud to join the fleet, and surprised that she was delivered on time in 2020. And then, of course, the Silver Wind, which will be converted to an expedition vessel. The Silver Cloud has already been converted to an expedition vessel, and the Silver Explorer, which has been flying in our fleet and sailing in our fleet as the original expedition ship for our fleet, and carries 144 guests navigating through the polar region. So as you could see here, this platform, this large fleet gives us this tremendous access to the world, and it's how we can reach over 1,000 destinations on our ports of call, and over almost 600 on just expedition. And when you think of, well, Joe, how does that compare to what we experience on the classic ships? I could tell you this next slide shows you about as bad as it can get, folks. This is as bad as it does get on Silversea. We do have a few suites that instead of having the sliding glass door that extends to a balcony, it's a large floor-to-ceiling window. Takes up most of the back wall, and all over 285 square feet, all with walk-in closets, all marble-appointed bathrooms, very, very comfortable. This is the way you should see Antarctica. Can you just imagine spending a day in Antarctica and having your afternoon on the balcony? There's a knock at the door, and it's your butler with the afternoon's hors d'oeuvres and a freshly popped bottle of champagne. That's certainly the way that I'd like to get to the end of the earth, for sure. Now, as we move into the next slide, I want to show you what sets us apart. Many of you may be thinking, this is a luxury brand. I'd love to have luxury customers. And the fact is, and the truth is, you do. You do. And more so today than ever before. With the current environment, current concerns of the pandemic, you're going to find customers that are willing to make that leap and that jump into the next market, up to the next market, to look for exclusivity on board, fewer passengers, and maybe access to more interesting and remote locations. And what sets us apart from all of the other luxury brands, and quite frankly, any of the premium brands, is just that, the exclusivity that we offer on board. Here on a ship the size of the Cloud, it's not uncommon, even in the luxury market, to find 500 passengers on a ship of that size. We carry only 274. Over 570 destinations, by far making us the difference and the leaders in destination. You could see down at the bottom, even in comparison with the luxury staff and guest ratios, we are by far the leaders, particularly in expedition. It's almost 1-to-1 on some of our ships. The Galapagos is that way in the Silver Origin. And our average suite size is 376 square feet, meaning your customers don't have to buy all the way up to the top level suites in order to experience what is our standard level of comfort. And I think that that's an important piece when discussing luxury with your customers. Who are our customers? I'll tell you right now, it's the boomers. And these guys, they're adventure seekers, they're wildlife enthusiasts. They want to see things that they thought they'd never get to. They've worked really hard. And I love this next description. They're highly experienced travelers. We don't sell to tourists, we sell to travelers. And that's what these folks want. They want a really enriched experience ashore. They want to meet new people and experience new things that maybe take them a little outside of their comfort zone, not too far. And then, of course, the been there, done that folks. Let's go somewhere else. I've done cruising for 30 years. I've been to all the major classic ports. I've done river cruising for the last 10, and there's still more to see. Who can take me there, and who can take me there in the most amount of comfort? So this is the demographic that we should definitely be zeroing in on. Other areas to look for these folks is going to be in the premium clientele, anyone buying high-level suites at the lower market, escorted land tour clientele, folks that are maybe sick of the grueling schedule of packing and unpacking and taking bus tours. And then you have your river cruise clientele, which is a great source for new business for luxury clients. Customers have a natural evolution. We start at contemporary with our families and kids at an inside suite. We maybe move to the premium in a concierge, maybe a little bit more exclusive and less people on board with upper premium, ultra premium category. And ultimately we graduate to luxury. And we do that with all of our consumer experiences. I wouldn't put my kids in the first car I drove, that's for sure. And hopefully we're all that we all see that progression throughout life in most areas. And I can tell you that traveling is definitely one of those areas where you'll see customers continue to move. One thing that's going to make this real easy for you to encourage them to get to luxury is the value that comes behind it. Our all-inclusive lifestyle, that's one thing people don't expect from a luxury cruise line. They always expect it to be overpriced or too expensive. And on luxury cruising, that's the opposite. Yes, it comes with a high price tag to get on board the ship, but when you start to compare it what the actual cost is versus other experiences, you quickly realize that we're not out of reach, and we're certainly not too far away from what the end cost would be to pay for these items as you go along on these other markets. So please speak to your customers about the high value proposition that we carry. It's one of the most important aspects to our brand, our market, and it's going to be one of the easiest ways to get you to encourage that customer to graduate to the next level, maybe a little earlier than they were ready to. So please remember those 3 points about Silversea. It's the most important. We are the destination leaders. We do them better and differently than everyone else. We go to more places than anyone does. We do it on this unbelievable luxury platform, and we bring it to you with a high value proposition with an all-inclusive luxury lifestyle on board. And with that, I know that the rest of the team, you guys are probably sick of hearing me. I'll turn it over to the real pros. Carl is going to take us through life in the Galapagos and show us the new ship. Carl?
Thank you very much, Joe. One of the key elements that Joe hasn't touched on yet, because he was waiting for me, thank you very much, is the expedition team. So once we get out there, who are the people to bring it to life? And one of the things that Joe said I thought was really interesting, when we get to some of these remote destinations, we are the infrastructure. There aren't 6 or 8 or 10 buses waiting when we go ashore in the Galapagos to take us to the cathedral and the art gallery and the museum. We're it. The 97% of the Galapagos is undeveloped. So it's these folks, for example, and in the Galapagos specifically, the expedition team members all have to be permanent residents of the Galapagos. So who better to show you their backyard than these folks? They very often have an undergraduate or graduate degree. They go to the mainland and then they come back. They all have to take a 6-month training program by the Galapagos National Park Service to become generalists, so that they may have a PhD in botany, but then they'll learn a little bit about the geology and some of the other fauna as well, or fauna, right. Thanks. And the next one, please, Rachel. When we go out and explore, we do so with Zodiacs, these rigid inflatable boats. They're the things that really make it possible for us to get off the ship and penetrate even deeper into these regions and to go and really explore. That's what we're there for, is to the destination itself and to get dirt under our fingernails and to get our boots on the ground. We have enough Zodiacs on every ship that we can get all of our guests off at the same time. So on the Silver Origin, for example, at 100 guests, we've got 10 Zodiacs, 10 guests per Zodiac. Everybody disembarks at the same time. We have multiple shore excursions. And in the Galapagos, there may be as many as 5 options to choose from on any given landing. So a longer hike, a shorter hike, you can just sit on the beach if you want to. You can do some beach snorkeling, you can do kayaking. You can always stay on the ship. It's a very, very comfortable place to stay. So there's always something to do. This ship was designed with the Galapagos in mind. So from her propulsion systems to her water treatment systems, state-of-the-art engines, the type of fuel we use, everything from the ground up was thought about, again, with the Galapagos in mind, because we want to preserve this area where this ship will sail 365 days a year. You'll see it in some of the other images that some of the other design elements are about light and space and things like that to always make sure that guests feel and remember that they're in the Galapagos. One of the really interesting facts about the Galapagos is that this ship never docks. She's always at anchor when she's not sailing between islands. So this is the way you would arrive. This is how your clients will arrive at the ship by Zodiac. And this brand new platform aft on deck 2 is where everyone will arrive. They walk off of the Zodiac onto the ship, and the first place they arrive is the base camp. We have this wonderful partnership. We are members of the Royal Geographical Society, and guess who else was a member of the Royal Geographical Society? Charles Darwin. So we have a number of artifacts on loan that you'll see throughout the ship, but in particular here at base camp in these museum-style display cases. And what a great way to explore even while you're on the ship. Of course, we want to get you off of the ship and explore when your clients are off roaming around, but when they're on board, they still have plenty of opportunity to learn about the Galapagos. I mentioned the natural light. So in all the common areas here in the observation lounge, in the dining rooms, everywhere, floor to ceiling, wall to wall glass. This is in the Explorer Lounge. This is where the lectures will take place, believe it or not, and where the recap and the briefing at the end of every day. Where did we go? What did we see? And here in the suites. And this is unique. This suite, if you look at the bathroom, the wall behind the bed there, that panel, so you're in the bathroom, you're standing at the sink, you're brushing your teeth, you pull that or push that panel out of the way, and now you're looking through your suite, through your balcony, and you're feeling like you're in the Galapagos. All kinds of natural light flooding not only into the suite, but into the bathroom. When's the last time you were on a ship that had that? So much of the design, so much of the thought that went into the ship was because of the area where she will sail. We've been working with the Galapagos National Park Service all along, but for the last 3.5 years, we've been petitioning them to make some changes to our itineraries. There was one itinerary that was better suited to birders, really hardcore birders, and another itinerary that was probably a little bit better suited to those who wanted to do more snorkeling. We've now sort of tightened that up where both itineraries are equally good for everything, and 5 brand new sites that we will be the first tour operator to have access to. They've just opened these up, and when we start sailing again, as a matter of fact, I think from an itinerary perspective, January 9th, 2021 is when the new itineraries will start, and these 5 new landing sites will be incorporated into those itineraries. Two itineraries to choose from, and you know, if you've sold Galapagos before, you've probably had clients come into your office pulling their hair out, wondering which is the best itinerary to do. I want to make sure I'm going on the right one. Like I said, you'll see in the maps here, the changes that we made were really important because we wanted to include Isabella and Fernandina, those 2 islands to the west on the left-hand side of the map there. Those 2 islands are where you will see Galapagos penguins and sea turtles, and we know that those are very, very important for guests to see, in addition to the giant tortoises, the marine iguanas, the sea lions, the blue-footed boobies, etc., which are readily available on pretty much every island that you get to. But we wanted to make sure that we included Isabella and Fernandina to really beef up the itinerary. So you'll see on the map, this one, the western itinerary, and the other one, north and central, that they both touch on those islands. And that makes, coming back to my original point about the itineraries, we've tightened them up so that the 2 are quite similar in terms of what you can see. Once we go ashore, the expedition team, this is where they shine because they're bringing it all to life. Nice small groups, 8 to 10 people per Galapagos National Park Service guide, and they're talking about everything, all the flora, the fauna, every eggshell, every feather, every bone, every cactus, everything you see. Your first walk when you first arrive in the Galapagos, it might be a half a mile, but it'll take 2 hours because they pause every couple yards to point out absolutely everything along the way and answer all of the questions. And if they don't know the answer, they'll go to a colleague who might, and if not, when we get back to the ship, we'll look it up and try and find the answer there. It's a nature lover's paradise and a photographer's paradise because this is the kind of access you get to the wildlife. This isn't staged. It's like an open air zoo or an open air history museum. This is how close you get to the wildlife. And they aren't afraid of us. The reason we can get so close is because we don't pose a threat to them. We're not a predator of theirs, and they've come to become very familiar with us and let us walk among them. So whether it's blue-footed boobies or albatross, sea lions, you can see none of them care at all about the fact that we're walking among them. And when you get into the water, the sea lion pups are actually really interesting. They're like puppies. They're encouraging us to play with them. They'll come and blow bubbles in your face, and they'll come and tug on the flipper of your snorkeling gear and encourage you to come and play with them. It's an amazing place. Rachel, you were there a couple of years ago, and I know you had the same idea or that same concept, all these interactions with the wildlife, and you can't imagine you're going to get this close.
Yeah, well, they always say, you know, to stay within 10 feet of the wildlife, but what you just said was snorkeling. I mean, this particular day, I was just walking along the beach before I went into the water, and there was 3 sea lions that just pretty much came right up to me. So, yeah, there's always opportunities. I know this was a photo of children, and Joe, you were mentioning about multi-gen travel, and I know, Carl, you know, you brought your son. Why don't you touch upon that, because I know that's really big for the Galapagos.
Yeah, and you know, if you've got families that are considering travel and thinking about expedition, I would always recommend the Galapagos, because that's my son Alex, and we went in July of 2018, and from a parent's perspective, we knew that none of the wildlife wanted to bite them or eat them. And as I said, 97% of the Galapagos is undeveloped. So no roads, no cars, no buses, no marinas and yacht clubs with sea-doos and boats going back and forth. So we felt quite comfortable taking him to a place like that. And, you know, from his perspective, he was only 5 at the time. Now at 7.5, he's asking us when we can go back. He thinks we only saw half the Galapagos, and he wants to go do the other itinerary and see the other half. He absolutely loved it. We not only saw, you know, families, parents and children, we saw multi-gen, as Rachel pointed out, that we've been talking about multi-gen for so long in the industry. You see it, you know, live and in person when you're doing something like this. And something else I saw, and I don't know if you've heard this expression now, but gramping. So where the grandparents are taking the grandchildren. There was a couple from the UK, and their 3 granddaughters that ranged in age from 12 to 14, each from a different set of parents. The cousins were over the moon that they got to spend all this time with each other. And the grandparents, I went and chatted with them, and they said, you know, listen, it was a bit self-serving that we did this because we wanted to spend some time with our granddaughters, but we're hoping that this is something that they will remember 70, 80 years from now when they're talking to their grandchildren about this thing that their grandparents did for them, and instill them with a sense of preservation and conservation. And the last thing I want to touch on is we talked a lot, and we have mentioned the butlers a fair bit. If you've wondered how the butlers come into play, I'll give you a very quick example. If you've had kids, you know that you, especially when they're as young as Alex was here, you have a 1-hour window in which to feed them lunch. Somewhere between 11:30 and 12:30. And if you miss the window, you've lost the day. It was 11:30, we got back to the ship, we had been out in the water. We took all our wet gear off, threw it onto the bathroom floor, and we ran to the dining room so that we could feed them lunch in the window. From lunch, we went to a lecture. Lecture was over around 2 o'clock, and the expedition leader looked at the clock and said, okay, we're heading back off the ship at around 2:30. We're going out on our afternoon excursion. We thought, oh man, we trudged back to the suite. We're gonna have to put on wet bathing suits, and worse, put a wet bathing suit on a 5-year-old. The butler had grabbed all of the wet gear, taken it to the laundry room, spun it, dried it, folded it, and put it on our bed waiting for us. That's the sort of thing the butlers are doing behind the scenes. It's just amazing. So I think we're moving on to Antarctica. Oh no, sorry, we're still here. So again, in the Galapagos, it's just for nature lovers, people that want to get outdoors, and for the kids too. They don't realize that they're going to love the outdoors, but by the second day, regardless of the complimentary Wi-Fi, the devices are gone. The laptops, the iPads, the phones, you don't see them anymore. And the kids are in the library, they're interacting with the expedition team, and they're out there asking questions, and they get the lists at the end of the day. They want to know which birds, which animals did we see today. They want to check it off the list. So an incredible, incredible destination for everybody.
Great.
Now we're moving on to Antarctica. Over to Rachel.
All right. Well, thank you, Carl. Thank you, Joe. You know, the other thing we like to point out with the Galapagos, our previous vessel, that was our highest rated ship in the fleet. I think we were averaging about a 9.8 out of 10, and almost every voyage was sold out on a vessel that was older. So When you
She was
sell
30
this,
years old though, Rachel, right?
I know, not to say the age, but yeah, wasn't it around it was built in the 1980s.
1988, I believe, yeah.
So with this brand new ship, sell this with confidence. What Carl was saying with the service on board and the expedition team that we have, 55% of the clients that are on board, if that's their first expedition voyage, their next expedition voyage that they book is Antarctica. And we talk about visiting these remote destinations. The only way you can visit Antarctica is on a small vessel. So when you look at clients, even on my Antarctica voyage a couple of years ago, there was about 12 doctors on board. And I asked them, I said, oh, is this your first Silversea cruise? And they replied, oh, it's our first cruise. We're not cruisers. But they loved it and they appreciated the level of service on board, because when you look at a destination like Antarctica, having 2 landings a day, weather permitting, that probably told us about 4 hours ashore. The rest of the time is on board, and you want to be on a comfortable vessel with nice amenities. But one of the reasons Antarctica is one of my favorite destinations, it's an environment of complete isolation. The landscape, I love this photo here too. You could just see how pristine it is, the white continent, likely the farthest away from home your clients will ever be. I knew every day going ashore I was going to see thousands of penguins, but I was really amazed at the ice sheets. Antarctica ice sheets are the largest in the world, and the ice there, about 85% of the world's ice is in Antarctica. So that was quite amazing. Our product, we operate during their summertime. So different from the Galapagos, where we're in the Galapagos year-round. Antarctica seasonal, so we're there from November through February, and we offer 10 or 18-day voyages. Traditionally, they all operate round-trip Ushuaia, and we include a pre and post hotel night, as well as charter flights. So we make it quite easy to sell this for your clients. The 10-day voyage spends about 6 days in the peninsula. You can see up to 3 penguin species. And then I always say, sell the 18-day voyage first to your clients. And you might get questions from them, why should I sell this, the 18-day voyage? You know, it's a 3-week trip, because clients want to go to South Georgia to see the king penguins. And I'll show some photos in a bit. You can see up to 50,000 king penguins breeding. Something new that we are operating in January of 2022, we're calling this our Deep Antarctica Voyage. Guests have the opportunity to explore the Deep South, which we're going to be able to take guests about 66 degrees south. So that's something else. If clients have a bucket list of what they're trying to do, I recommend to promote this trip. We'll also offer this in 2023. And then something new that we just launched this last year, we're calling it our Antarctica Bridge Fly Cruise program. So if you do have clients interested in Antarctica, but they're concerned about the Drake Passage, which I always say 9 out of 10 times it's the Drake Lake, we are offering an alternative so guests do not have to cross the Drake Passage. We will offer a pre-hotel program in Punta Arenas, and the expedition team will be there. The following morning, your clients will board a chartered flight, land at King George Island, which is in the Antarctic Peninsula, and from there they'll walk about, I would say, 1/4 of a mile ashore, board a Zodiac to then board the Silver Explorer. So they avoid the Drake Passage, and it's only a 6-day voyage. So promote this to clients. Might be working professionals, they don't have the opportunity to take a longer trip, but we are the only luxury operator offering this fly cruise. Something else that's unique, we have a lot of interest for this. If you have any clients that are avid Eclipse followers, I highly recommend to promote these 2 Antarctica Eclipse cruises. They are selling quite well. The total Eclipse will happen on December 4th of 2021. So both the Silver Wind and Silver Cloud will be positioned between South Georgia and the peninsula at sea, with the opportunity to see the eclipse. So something unique there. But every day, Carl, when you were sharing those images from your Galapagos trip, similar to that, the wildlife and how close you are with, no fear of humans, that's one thing. And the Zodiacs too, when we talk about small groups, our Zodiacs can accommodate about 14 to 16 guests. On average, about 8 to 10 guests in a Zodiac. I had many days where there's only 6 of us in a Zodiac. You're with different leaders, and as soon as you step foot ashore, your clients will never forget that first memory of being within 5 feet of penguins and having experiences like this. We do have a photo program on Silver Cloud and Silver Explorer. So we do have a photo studio. We'll have a couple photographers. So if your clients are avid photographers, another great trip for them. And if they are on our 18-day voyage, they will visit this area in South Georgia called Salisbury Plain, where you can see up to 50,000 king penguins as far as the eye can see.
I thought that was formal night for a second there, Rachel.
Yeah, I know. That's what we always like to say with Mark. He always says, you know, on an expedition voyage, there isn't any formal nights on board, but this is as much as you're going to get with formal nights ashore. So Adelie penguins, and you know, when I was talking about with the ice, the snow and the ice, I went in early December. We'll get questions a lot, Carl, I know, like, what's the best time to visit Antarctica? We're there during their summertime. So whether or not you're booking a trip for your clients, end of November, December, January, it is a great time to visit Antarctica. December, it's a little bit more pristine, and that a lot has to do with baby penguins are born at the end of December, so you don't really get all that penguin poo ashore. But many days it was like this. The sun is out, and you just get beautiful opportunities for wildlife viewing. This particular day, this was on my trip a couple years ago, I was in the Zodiac right next to the photographer in this area called Sierra Cove. And there was about 5 humpback whales bubble feeding for about an hour and a half. And what the expedition team will do that makes it really unique, they'll turn the engines off and you just shut completely off. I actually put my camera away and you admire nature and the scenery. And this is something you get with expedition that you can't put a price tag on. It's very different than classic cruising. Every voyage is different. You know, with all the excursions we offer, with our Galapagos product and all of our polar trips, we do include complimentary kayaking program. So we have 8 double kayaks on board. There's a sign-up sheet, but it's just another way for your clients that are a little bit more adventurous to participate in another activity. And for clients that want to stretch their legs a bit more, you know, with expedition travel, we always say, if you can climb a flight of stairs, play a round of golf, you can go on an expedition voyage. We offer a couple hikes. This particular day, I brought my mother with me and we walked ashore. I did the mile hike and she just wanted to walk to the first penguin colony. So, you know, we do cater to all different activity levels, which is great. And I always say, have your clients pack their bathing suit. They'll ask why would I want to do a polar plunge? Well, you'll see guests out on deck on their veranda. Guests will cheer you on. They provide a polar plunge certificate for you. And it's just something like a rite of passage. They'll have a cocktail for you and you can share those memories with the guests on board. So thank you so much for allowing me to discuss Antarctica. Joe, I want to turn it over to you. I know you have a couple things to mention with our Discover blog and some special offers we have for CLIA members.
Yep. Thank you, Rachel, and great job, guys. Thank you both for sharing your experiences with us. And I know that our advisors are going to find it very helpful in discussing and describing those environments and experiences with their customers. And speaking on the topic of destination, because in case you haven't noticed, that really is the theme of how we sell our product. And again, yes, we're a cruise line. We take people to places, but we do it differently and with greater detail and careful planning than anyone else. And one of the places that is best to describe that to your customers is right here in our Discover blog. We have to remind ourselves that the food and the service and the beautiful appointments of our ships are what have customers choose between products. But the reason they picked up the phone and made an inquiry with you to begin with is there's a place in the world they're curious about learning about, visiting, seeing, people they want to meet, cuisines they want to experience. And we created this Discover blog so that our travel writers, our customers, our expedition leaders, our photographers can share their experiences with you, our customers, firsthand, whether you're an agent, an advisor, or a customer that's going to sail on a Silversea cruise one day. There's no better way for us to describe our experiences than the firsthand testimonials that we get from the folks on board and the folks that sail along with us. So please share that blog with them. It's a safe place for you to send your customers to. There's no call to action on the blog. There's no click to call or redirect to my website. It's simply a place to discuss the world and all the beauty that's waiting for them once we're all ready to set back to sail. Now, one of the programs that we put in place, and really partnership with our parent company, Royal Caribbean Group, is the Cruise with Confidence program. And this program is here to help those customers that are currently booked and those that are looking to make future plans. And the idea here is to give them a policy that allows them to hold steady continue to look forward to the vacation they've planned for many months. And when the time comes to make that decision, they have up until 30 days prior to departure for any sailing through December 31st of 2021. They can cancel up to 30 days prior to departure, receive full value of that voyage in an FCC. Now that FCC, that Future Cruise Certificate, is issued off the full value of the invoice. So that includes air, hotel, and any other ancillary items like transfers that they may have added and purchased through Silversea. That certificate is good for 2 years, and for the first time ever, we're handling it as almost a form of currency, where traditionally we would reduce the price of a cruise when a certificate is added, therefore affecting your commissionable fare. Well, in this particular case, the canceled cruise, that's protected commission and will be paid on schedule. And when they reapply or apply that future certificate to a future voyage, your full commission is paid on that, because we do not reduce the commissionable fare, therefore produce and preserving the full value of what you're earning on that booking. So we feel this is a really strong program, one that gives us time to assess and set sail safely, and gives your customers confidence that their investments are secure, but also gives them the opportunity to postpone should they feel that the industry is not quite ready to receive them yet. Now, one of the promotions that we introduced in May, right at the beginning of this, and it was a really great idea by our marketing team. And this is not a market that's driven by offers right now or discounts. This is a market driven by information and risk-free offers. And at Silversea, we always require a 25% deposit. And when we introduced this in May, we introduced it under the idea that customers needed risk-free offers. $1,000 per suite was one that we felt was strong enough. So what I want you to do when speaking to your customers about this particular offer is change the narrative behind this transaction. I think that our customers have always been very respectful of your profession, of your time, and they call you when there's a real commitment to sail or travel anywhere. This is different. This is different. Instead of committing to a vacation they're going to take, we need them to place a beacon of hope on their calendar. This is something to work towards, plan towards, and as we get closer, we can then decide if it's going to be a true commitment or not. But change the narrative with your customers, change the conversation, because some of them may think that they're wasting your time just calling to plan a vacation with you right now. Instead, show them programs like this that allow them the opportunity to secure a suite, secure a sailing date, start planning excursions, start planning lunches ashore and private cars, but without the burden of a big investment up ahead of time, and they have the opportunity to finalize it 120 days prior to sailing. When they finalize it, we'll give them a free $1,000 shipboard credit. But again, this isn't an offer-driven market, right? This is really a free $1,000 offer. But what we're doing is we're speaking to what the customer really needs to hear, which is a risk-free offer, giving them the opportunity to plan like they normally do. Planning is part of the experience for our guests. And so let's not rob them of that opportunity. Let's not take that away from them. Let's change the conversation. This isn't a commitment that we're looking for from them anymore. This is a plan that we need them to set on their own calendars, so then hopefully we can return to some level of normalcy in the industry. Rachel had shown a 10% savings. I'm sorry, I kind of skipped over that one, Rachel. It was an early booking bonus. This continues to be our best promotion. Customers are paying in full for bookings that are 20 months in advance because they are looking at 10% as a real value, something that they see a tremendous amount of value in, and it's an important promotion for us. So please sell this. It is combinable with the $1,000 double bonus promotion. So anyone that's booking a sailing for starting next year and they pay in full by October 31st, they'll get the 10% savings, and we'll also award them the $1,000 shipboard credit that was part of the previous offer, reduced deposit that I talked about. And on that double bonus, I just want to be clear, the first bonus is the reduced deposit, the double bonus is the free $1,000. So on a $10,000 cruise, you place $1,000 down. When you satisfy the $9,000 bonus, a free $1,000 shipboard credit appears on the account to use on board. And in these times, I know that we're all working with maybe some reduced teams. We have access to fewer resources, fewer team members, and maybe fewer tools. And one of the things that we did here was revamp the tools that you have access to. So I would encourage you all to visit the my.silversea.com website. It's listed here. This website gives you access to our Marketing Central platform, which gives you a tremendous amount of creative horsepower. This is infrastructure for you to go out there and build custom flyers, custom with your logo, call to action. You can download our printer's proof of any one of our mailers, add your call to action there, and send it to your customers on your own. You can also pull down web banners, social media posts. This really is a tremendous resource for you to stay in contact with your customers, because for those of you that haven't been in contact with your customers, I promise promise you this, someone is. And they are booking vacations and they are planning because we see it in our own volumes. We're not back to the levels that we need to be, but we are seeing our business resume somewhat normal levels, and we will continue to grow as we get closer to setting sail and our healthy return to sail announcements. So please use this site, log on to it, because it could be a really important resource for you, especially now. And a surprise for all of you who've joined us here and listen to me talk this time, we decided to add a $200 gift card. We want to honor this October cruise month, right, by offering a $200 gift card for anyone who sells a Silversea voyage anytime within the next 2 weeks, from October 14th through October 31st. You can register it through the my.silversea website through the Marketing Central that I showed on the previous slide. And I'm not sure, Rachel, were we able to upload the PDF to the chat, or can we'll send the PDF flyer of this gift card to Anna once we're done, so that maybe she can share it with the group, or post it to a place where you can all access it and see all of the terms and conditions. But
wonderful. I'll make sure we send it to all attendees.
Great. Thank you, Rachel. Again, with that, I want to thank you all for sharing your valuable time with us. It's important that we share updates with our advisors and that we remind you that we are back to business. We're still selling cruises. We're selling very strongly, and there's a world out there that's missing all of its visitors, and we'll be back to it very soon. So I hope we have a lot of questions out there.
We do have some questions coming in, and I'll invite everyone to keep them coming. Our first one is from Heather, who is wondering if you can speak to upcoming plans for Japanese ports of call.
Japanese ports of call are still on the calendar as planned. We may have to redeploy some of the plans that we had for the first quarter. We have to wait and see what our return to service plans are, protocols that we're going to have to follow. But we haven't had any discussions on long-term plans of removing Japan from our portfolio. I think access obviously is the most important. The governments have to grant us access, but that comes with increased technology. That's one thing that's changing so rapidly in this entire thing is technology, not just on how we're building towards a vaccine and the treatments that we have on this pandemic, but the testing that's available and how quickly we can administer those and get the results that we need. So that's all changing every day, and we expect the government's ports and the government officials to start granting us access as that continues to progress.
Okay, great.
The plan is we're going to Japan, guys, in 21 at some point.
Sounds good. Our next question is from Jay, who is wondering when Antarctica sailings will begin again.
It's a good question, Jay. I wish I could tell you it was December, but it doesn't look like that's in the cards for us right now. Again, part of our challenge with Antarctica, as remote of a destination as it is, we do need to use a Chilean or an Argentinian port as a port of origin to get the ship out. And so we are working with local officials to do everything we can to deploy as soon as possible. But it looks like that's going to be delayed a little into next year. But we will be going back to Antarctica too.
Okay. Our next question from Lynn: does Silversea supply guests outer gear while on excursions?
Aha, good question. Rachel, you want to take that?
Sure. On every expedition voyage, we include a backpack and water bottle. Our polar voyages, we include a parka, which will be in the guest suite. But for the polar trips, guests do need to rent boots through our gear operator ship to shore, and then all of their base layer gear guests will need to bring themselves or rent them through the gear operator. The number one point though, when it comes to expedition gear, rent the boots for Antarctica and the Arctic. The boots are quite heavy. If you rent them for your clients, they're delivered to their suite.
Yeah, and we provide instructions on where and how to order those. And we have a company that we've been working with for many years that has a really great set protocol to get these delivered. We haven't had any issues, which is good. In the Galapagos, we do provide wetsuits and snorkel gear for the snorkeling excursions as well.
Okay, perfect. That is easy enough. Our next question is from Beatrice, who's just requesting clarity. To get the early booking bonus, do guests have to be booked 20 months out?
No. Guests have to be I just using that as a point of reference of how crazy it is that we're in this pandemic and people are still paying in full for vacations that are almost 2 years away. I mean, really surprising to us, but delighted to see those results, obviously. But no, Beatrice, the answer to that question is anyone that is booking a cruise that the departure date is January 1st of 21 and beyond, and it could be as far down our calendar as we've released. And if they book now and pay in full by October 31st, they'll receive the benefit of that 10% savings.
Okay, fantastic. And it looks like our last question will be from Patty, who is wondering if you have any insight or any idea which ship or itinerary may be the first to return to service.
Wow, that's a great question. I'm going to answer it, Patty, even at the risk of getting in trouble. Not really, no. But we hope the Caribbean will be the first. Obviously, we need the blessing from the CDC, and we need to get access there. But we've got a brand new ship in the Silver Moon that we're going to take delivery of October 30th, and she's going to sail over to Fort Lauderdale. We hope that if we get the clearance to sail from Fort Lauderdale, that we'll be able to introduce some itineraries in some capacity before this year ends. If not, we expect it to be very early on next year. But I would expect the Caribbean and possibly the Galapagos to be amongst the first destinations that we return to. Obviously, none of this is a definite go, not until we get clearance from these local authorities and these government agencies. But from just a logistics standpoint and what we feel confident that we can deliver this environment in, I can't think of a better place to visit than the Galapagos, where we really are, the Galapagos Islands, Carl mentioned it, they allow 100 visitors max on any given island. The ship holds 100 max by default. We're the only folks on that island on any given day. There is no greater bubble that we can create than visiting those islands. So expect that to be amongst the first.
Okay, fantastic. And on that note, it looks like those are our last questions. So thank you, Joe, Carl, and Rachel for the wonderful information. And thank you, everyone, for joining us.
It's our pleasure. Thank you, Anna. And thank you, Clea, for all of your wonderful support, and to your advisors. Thank you for making us a top luxury cruise line for the last 26 years. We're going to need your support moving forward.
Have a great rest of your week, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.